My name is Mike Wante.
And I'm Martin Ramirez, and today we're talking with Felipe Vargas, writer-director of Hive, an original Tubi movie.
Yeah, coming out April 17th. So thank you for joining us. How you doing today?
I'm happy to be here, man. I'm excited to get this movie out there and just excited to chat a little bit more about it. And again, Martin, I love the DVD collection you have going on
Oh,
there.
thank you so much.
That was honestly, this movie was a little inspired by like the Blockbusters DVDs I would rent as a kid,
Oh
like the kind
yeah,
of
you're
B
right.
movie, that type of
Right.
feel.
I love that. Yeah, I remember even just going in, back in the 90s, going with mom and dad, get a video, rent it, and yeah,
Yep.
good times.
And
Yeah, like the horror comedies, and you'd sneak like a leprechaun or like a critters or something.
People over here are weird. Can't imagine what their kids are like.
Come on in, honeybee.
Hi, I'm Sasha.
I can tell you'll put our previous babysitter to shame.
Can we go to the park, Miss Sasha? My friend said the new slide is special. Miss Sasha. Miss Sasha, it's so dark in here.
this film is so fun, and the beginning scene is just creepy because it sets the tone for the whole movie. With the creepy kids and everything. And for me, it reminded me of kind of like Children of the Corn, Children of the Damned. Where is that something that inspired you, or what inspired you to make a film like this?
100%, man. And Children of the Corn was a movie I loved. And it was also the concept of making a daytime horror movie, a horror film that subverted what we usually see, haunted house, attic, creepy base, whatever it is, and making something that was full of color too. That was like extremely bright and poppy, almost to the point of like just the Technicolor kind of making you like look back. So that was the idea with the aesthetic of it, and then the tone and the style. And then beyond that, it was making something that had a lot of energy and propulsion in terms of like inspos. Like with the cinematographer, we looked at a lot of European thrillers and movies that just move and move, and the camera is always with you, and it's just real time. That was a combination of those two things.
Yeah, I did love that, and I wanted to acknowledge that, a lot of the shots I really loved, and some of them, even though they're kind of subtle, I loved the bookend shots that you have of when they first arrive in the neighborhood, and the shot is coming out from the truck. You see, Soshi in the back, and it moves out, and then you see Aaron in the actual rear or the side view mirror, and then you kind of, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a bookend to that. And then of course, the colors and the brightness that you just mentioned. Now I'm afraid to take my kids and drop them off at school because there's kids all over the place, so I can't even be around. But speaking of even just the setting, what made the decision to choose that location? Because this was actually shot in Cape Town. Is that correct? So going there, what inspired you to pick that location? And especially, I'm sure you did some casting down there too, because you have some great actors. You have Zenobia Kloppers, and you have a newcomer, Victoria Versova, and then the mom, you have Tanya Van Green. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we were blessed with an amazing cast, and it's interesting. Cape Town, South Africa, has become a huge hub for filmmaking. One Piece shoots there as well. We were shooting
That's
right next
right.
to Netflix's One Piece, and it is. I think what makes it so special is the climate. The locations are incredible. Like I think the locations we found there were fantastic. And it was just like it became family there because a lot of us came from LA, and it was like a really close bond when we were making this movie.
Yeah.
And the cast, I think, that we found locally was incredible. I mean, Tanya's like a legend in South Africa. Victoria was a first time actress, the little I think she was 9 years old when we made the movie, and she
Wow.
this was her first time on set ever, and she killed it.
She knocked it out the park.
We're gonna get out of this, okay?
So I know that you had worked with Sochi before on the short film version of this film. What inspired you to make? Was that like a proof of concept where you wanted to take a short to make a feature, or you made the short and then you just said, "This has to be a feature. It's so good."
Yeah, I think, we actually didn't make the short thinking, oh, we're going to make a feature out of it. I made the short because there were 2 strikes happening here in Hollywood, writer strike, actor strike. You couldn't make features. I was like, I'm going to go make a short. I'm going to bring an actress that I love, Xochitl Gomez, who's honestly a star. She's fantastic. And we made a short in like 2 days. Oh, wow. And then people watched it and they're like, this could be something more. And I think what really made me latch on to making something bigger was, yes, it's fun, it's colorful, it's a big roller coaster ride, but it's also like the feature version. We latched onto the idea of telling a story of siblings, like sibling love and sibling rivalry, and the story of a brother and a sister and what they do for each other and how they protect each other. And that was really, I think, what made it something a little bigger. That, and also expanding the monster, right? Because in the short, the monster is this creature that lives in a tube slide. In the feature, I won't spoil it, but there's something much bigger and insidious going on underneath this whole neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely though. And even just the practicality that was involved, everything that you put into the film was great. And yeah, that twist, once you get it, you're like, whoa, this is just way bigger than I expected. So I think, when we were talking about like Blockbuster, going to Blockbuster and getting B movies, I thought even just the writing itself, I mean, it elevated above B movie, definitely. So this was a great film. So I had a lot of fun watching it. And like you said, Xochitl Gomez was amazing. Her and Aaron Dominguez carried the film. They were just amazing in this. And, yeah, I like how you mentioned there's a lot of that sibling rivalry and the connection between them and how they're always going to protect each other. And I everyone that watches the movies will maybe get different ideas and what are you trying to touch on, right? So I loved the idea that the characters, there's 2 kind of factions in this because Sasha wants to stand up and fight and do the right thing and save people versus her brother, or versus like Zenobia's character. They say, keep your head down and, do the work. Don't look around. So I was wondering, when you were writing that, especially in like today's climate, were there any thoughts that you incorporated into your script that touched on any of that subject matter?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think something we found as we put the film together was it's a story about working class folks, and it's about sometimes the invisibility of the people who are keeping this world and this country running. And I mean, especially folks who are, doing the work that keeps things moving. And I think sometimes they're not seen, or they're not fully, appreciated, or even exploited a little bit. And I think there was that theme underlying. It's a feeling, really. Yes. But I think we wanted that to not feel like it was overtaking the movie either. At the end of the day, it's just a fun roller coaster ride of a colorful movie with set pieces and the merry-go-round and the kiddie pool and all that. But I think if you watch it, hopefully there is a deeper layer there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that did come through, and like you said, it wasn't overwhelming at all because I was concentrating on the ride, and you set that tone. Like I said, the very first scene on the merry-go-round, I was like, whoa, okay, I know what we're going to be in for. So that was great.
We saw that you had made a lot of short films that are based on horror and Rosario as well. I know that upcoming you have, well, maybe I read it wrong, but writing a Bob the Builder. Is that something?
That's right. You read it right.
That is
I was
awesome.
actually just in Puerto Rico for that project, getting everything ready and then writing the story. And that one is a big detour for me. I've really leaned into the horror, the fantasy, the mean stuff. And this is an animated family film, but it has that magical realism. It has that culture. It has the themes that I love, which are always stories about family, honestly. So I'm very excited for it. And we have an incredible team behind it. Jennifer Lopez, Anthony Ramos. It's really next level.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And there was another project that I don't know if it's still on the table because I'm a comic book fan. Are you still working with Aftershock Media?
Actually, I have been working with them. They unfortunately went bankrupt like a year or two, so my comic just sat there for a while. But I hope that it sees the light of day because it's a really cool comic book story that I got to write for them.
That
Oh,
is
that's
so
awesome.
cool. Yeah, I'm a big comic book nerd, so I'm like, oh, I want to see what Philippe is writing and working on because I even love the indie stuff, and we have
Yeah.
local people in El Paso, Texas, that have stuff that they write about all the time. So,
You would dig this one. It's set in Brazil in the 60s, and it's like this
Oh,
architect who unleashes this creature from the jungle that lives under the jungle. He's like building into the jungle, and this creature is like a giant worm that not only starts to destroy the city he was building, but it also starts to destroy people's memories. It's very Lovecraftian,
oh
and
wow.
everybody
nice.
starts forgetting who they are and where they're from, and it's like a plague. It's really unique.
That is
I hadn't thought
awesome.
about it in a bit, but now that you remind me, I'm going to try to get that going again.
Yes, get reinvigorated. I want to see that because I mean, once it hits the panels, from there maybe you can adapt that as well. So that would be something I'd love
You
to
would,
see. I love
yeah.
monsters, even if it's kaiju related, anything like that. I love it. So, oh yeah, hopefully
So
we
I
get to
see
see
like
that.
I see a running theme of like monster and unleashing and is that something you grew up with, like watching these monster movies?
Yeah, and I grew up with a lot of the stories,
Mhm.
the kind of lore of, especially Latin
Oh
legends
yeah.
and myths, La Patasola, La Llorona, El
Mhm.
Cucuy. All those stories I thought were always very interesting and kind of traumatizing as a kid.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the love comes from a little bit. And then from making things as a kid, I would like tie prosthetics to my dog. That was the movie Monster when I was like 10 years old with my mom's camcorder. So I just always loved that. And then in terms of film, I think Del Toro was a big inspiration. Like the way he treats the creatures is something a little more than just a scare, but that can actually have something more there, I think is really amazing.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
just out of curiosity, this is a random question, but what's your favorite film? That's something that maybe the first film that really inspired you to take this path in life.
That's a great question. I think early inspirations, trying to think about that one. I've always really loved Alfonso Cuarón's movies as well. Like when I watched the Harry Potter films, Harry Potter 3, for example, was it the fantasy in those movies, that was an incredible inspiration as a kid. And I grew up with those movies, like as those characters aged. I aged,
oh
so that
yeah.
was really cool. And then there was some like darker stuff that I would sneak. I loved Alien, The Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street was a big
Oh
inspo
yeah.
for sure. Mhm.
That was definitely something I noticed in this one too. I was like, oh, that singing, that creepy singing. I was
Oh
thinking Freddy
yeah.
Krueger already.
Yeah,
So,
and for the music too, we looked at a little bit of the score that they had in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, that's
well, you
awesome.
know what? I don't want to take up much of your time. So, we want to thank you for joining us and answering our questions. Congratulations on all your success. And we're
Yeah.
really looking forward to all your future projects, especially that comic book. So please
Yeah.
don't forget about that one.
We'll get that going again. Thank you guys. And actually, speaking of comics, we just released the comic for my previous feature, Rosario. There's a comic for
Oh,
Rosario, so you should check that one out if you like comics.
I'm definitely going to look for that. I'm going to ask you for the link or something so I can purchase that one. I need to read it. All
awesome.
right. Thank you.
Tasha!